Daveyton was one of the townships affected by the unrest, with shopping malls and small businesses alike looted. Our business reporter, Ntokozo Khumalo, has been speaking to business owners on the impact of the unrest, and she joins us now live. Ntokozo, good afternoon. Business owners there, would you say that they are back on their feet 3 years later?
Good afternoon, Michelle. Well, some are back on their feet, but it really has been a struggle with other business owners really having to start from scratch to rebuild on their businesses. And to give us a little bit more details on the impact felt here, I am now joined by Bongani Ngwena, who is a businessman himself, as well as a socio-economic activist here in Daveyton. Thank you for talking to us. Now, those 8 days were quite rough for the Daveyton community. Perhaps just remind our viewers and give them insights on the kind of impact the July 2021 unrest had here in Daveyton.
Well, it's been a roller coaster ride, to be perfectly honest, because you must remember we were just recovering from the COVID pandemic and then the July unrest. So the impact that the unrest has had on our businesses, it's been a very difficult one. You must remember that as township entrepreneurs playing in the township economy, we sometimes rely on big businesses for supplies and stuff like that. So it has been difficult for big businesses to supply township economists. For an example, in our business here, we run a multifaceted business. We've got veggies and grocery. We've got an alcohol business. We've got a chisanyama. We also have quite a number of businesses that we run outside of this business. And the way that it has impacted on this business, one, you can't have our own cars going out to the markets to go buy stock and coming back, without being threatened by the people that are involved in the unrest. And for quite some time, we had to close business, because whilst you have bigger businesses in the Daveyton malls and other malls like Mayfield, well, you must remember that the people that are involved in the unrest are people from the township. So if they fake, because, our forces were protecting bigger businesses than us. So if they fail there, they have to come to us. And so we have been vulnerable. And we were not getting any joy or any assistance from the forces that were supposed to protect businesses because, well, perhaps we're small, we don't deserve protection, and people that deserve protection are the conglomerates. So it hasn't been easy. It's 2024 now. But it's still as if this thing happened yesterday. We still remember it.
Absolutely. And Bongane, you were saying that the other side of you now that's emerged since then is really becoming an activist, a socio-economic activist to help drive developments here in Daveyton. And we did see out of that Human Rights Report Commission saying those socio-economic challenges are really what help fuel the unrest. Talk us through some of those challenges that are here and prevalent here in Daveyton. What are some of those issues that Daveyton really struggles with?
Look, we struggle with quite a number of things in the township. You must understand. Right now, you having Township Economies Expo that is going to be taking place in Emperor's Palace on the 30th and the 30th of July. Just by the way, it's the second round coming. Now, the people around the township, they do not know about this because you have to see things like this online. And some of the township entrepreneurs don't use smartphones, do not have any access to internet for that matter. What matters most is their business. Look, we have tried to emerge from the mires of what has happened previously. We've got a number of businesses that we are connected to, that we interact with. We've got quite a number of businesses that we have assisted as a business, the Mavusana Group, to come back to life. Because you must remember one thing. Even if you are a business that is thriving, in the township. But when you thrive and other businesses are not thriving, there's food that's taken off the table from those families. There's kids that are not going to be able to go to school from those families. So as an activist, you need to look into saying what is the meaning that you bring to fellow businesses to ensure that they survive whatever the economic downfall that has been caused by the uprisings. So we have survived, and we've basically survived because we keep reserves. I must say, we keep reserves, and from the reserves that we kept, we have been able to come back and assist others to come back, but we're still growing.
Absolutely. And Bongani, just finally, quickly, the role then, as you're saying, you are rebuilding still. It's still a long process ahead. But the role then of small businesses, for other small business owners that maybe come from township economies, their role of also helping to develop their own communities, create jobs within their communities. How do they go about that and just take that role and responsibility seriously? It is a huge responsibility. But
look, we do not contribute much to the GDP of this country as township economies. For starters, our contribution is probably less than 10%. In total, in the country, perhaps, we account for about 2.5 million jobs. So we're quite serious role players, you know, even if we don't get taken seriously, but we're quite serious economic role players, even if we do not play in the main economies. But for a township economy to have an employment figure of about 2.5 million countrywide, it just tells you where the township economy is headed. So events like your Township Economy Expo should not be done in silos, nor in places like your Emperor's Palace, where you've got established economies. We need to look into townships that are central to the event, you know, because the very same people that are supposed to be attending that event are expected to pop up money, and there is transport as well in that. So how is it that you are saying you are empowering people, whereas you still expect them to take something from the little that they have? I mean, how many families are depending on a 3,500 rand perhaps that's going to be charged by the expo? There's a lot of families. There's a lot of kids that needs to go to school. There's a lot of mouths that needs to be fed, for that matter. So we can't be saying we're empowering township people or township entrepreneurs when events that should bring meaning to them are taken away from them and they're done elsewhere.
Bongani, thank you so much for talking to us. And of course, Michelle, that's Bongani Ngwenya, who is a small business owner as well as a socio-economist activist here in Daveyton. And really, those final words that he said there, Michelle, have been echoed by small business caucuses that I've been speaking to, saying that in order for us to really curb, the rise of social unrest, such as the July unrest that we saw in 2021, we need to bring economic activity into the township economy and into the townships themselves to allow that greater access, not only for the small businesses that are trying to contribute to the economy and job creation, but also to just develop those townships, by providing those skills and access to job opportunities closer to where people live. And that's really been sort of the message that I've been getting so far as reflect on the July 2021 unrest. Michelle.
Ntokozo Khumalo, live to us there in Daveyton. Thanks very much indeed for that update.